Hey everyone, this is PenMark, and welcome to my third episode of Drawing Sessions. I'm still continuing the commission from last time, and everyone, let me know what you think of the length of the episodes. If it's okay for me to do long episodes and you all will, still enjoy it, then I'll keep it up. But yeah, let me know, because I'm changing the format as I go, because I need to learn from trial and error. So, starting up the picture, as I left off, I was doing the sketch. Last time you guys saw me with this, it was literally a scanned picture that I started drawing on top of. I added all these blacks and grays to try and push the background back and the foreground forward. That's really useful in paintings because you need to keep track of all your objects and make sure that the contrast is going to work. Contrast being the darks and lights. You want your characters and whatever's the action in your picture, you want that to stand out, and you want all the background to be pushed back. With like inside of a room, the background might get darker and the characters get brighter, but in a landscape or when you're outside, it'll usually do the opposite with atmospheric perspective. The background will get lighter and the characters will have a higher contrast of black and light. I can show more examples of that later on as I go. Anyway, I cleaned up the sketch here, as you can see. I actually did multiple layers to show the objects. The background, foreground, and middle ground are on their own layers. So as you can see, the background, middle ground, and foreground, the table. The table is a grid. As quickly as I can, I want to show you how I make grids like that to do perspective. This is really useful if you struggle with an environment for the picture and making sure that all the objects are going into the distance and looking correct. Especially around buildings. If you're in like a room or any kind of building, that can get really annoying to try and get the walls to go in the right angle. And an easy way to do that is holding down Shift to make your line straight. Hold down Shift and make a line. Next to it, tap the area once and then make a new line. If you don't tap the area, you'll often get a line like that, and you don't want that. So make your first line, tap where you're about to draw the second line, then hold down Shift and make your next line. Now that you've got that, I apologize if I have to cough, it's because I'm still kind of sick, but I need to work on this, so bear with me. I try my best to not make weird sounds. I've made a copy of those two lines on a new layer, and I will use my Move tool, which is also V. The V shortcut, just pressing the letter V on your keyboard, is usually the shortcut with most digital programs. I'm then going to move it over with my arrow keys and with my mouse, my tablet pen. Once they've lined up and you can tell that they're perfectly lined up, then you merge down those two layers so that it's one big layer, duplicate that, and continue, and just repeat it over and over until you've got a decent amount of lines. And I can do this really fast because I do it all the time. And when you do this enough, you get a grid. You'll get the vertical lines here, and once I merge these down, that's enough already to show you. I'll duplicate, and now with the Move tool, I'll click on the corner. It shows I can rotate it. I'll go to rotate and turn it, and up at the top there's a little option to type it in manually. I will type in 90 so that it's a 90-degree angle. It is a perfect rotation. I've now got a decent grid. It doesn't have to be perfect at all. As long as they're evenly spaced. Actually, as long as they're parallel, that's what matters. Like they're all perfectly parallel like this and then like this. That's all that you actually need. Merge all of those lines together. Click the corner so that you can edit, and click on the Skew button, which is S-K-E-W. With that, you can then click on one of the corners and do something like this, which is really useful because you're stretching it, and when you stretch it but keep the other side normal, it creates perspective. And so literally I can go off into the distance as I need to. You know, it kind of does a weird cyber world, chessboard, Digimon look, which is useful when you're trying to make sure all your objects line up as they go into the distance. You know, I can do it with a wall, if my characters are leaning up against some sort of wall, or if they're looking up at the ceiling, I can do that. You know, there's all ways that you can use this, and with me, there we go, it's pretty close. I used it for the table that was giving me trouble last time. Delete that because I don't need it right now, but you got an idea of what I did for this table here that has some sort of grid on it, because the objects in the last one looked like they're about to fall off the picture. They're too slanted. The table was too slanted, so here I fixed the perspective a bit. Moving on to colors, I'm using a layer underneath all these lines. If all of your picture is merged into one picture like this, if it's all in one layer and you're like, I can't go underneath it, you can start a new layer on top as a multiply layer, and then just add a color that way and go, oh look, ta-da, I changed all the colors to have that new color. Both ways work, and actually that way I just showed you is a really good way to test out a new color scheme. If I was doing this whole picture, I'm almost done with the entire painting, and then I looked at it and went, man, everything just looks too blue. Why is it doing that? Maybe I can help things look a bit, you know, warmer, a bit more red. You can start a new layer on top of everything. All of your work, you know, for 10 hours, you did a big painting, and then you're like, the colors don't work. I need everything to be more red. You can start a new layer, make it multiply, the multiply setting, add your warm color, go to opacity of the layer, lower it, and now everything's gotten a red hue to it. And now you've made your picture warmer. It's a great way to save a painting that feels like you've done all this work, but now it looks like the colors are going wrong. You can do a multiply layer on top. That helps me so many times. Thankfully right now I have this picture, and it is transparent, so I'm putting a color underneath it. I apologize if the colors start changing later on in the picture on future episodes. I have to sometimes check with the person who paid for this picture and find out if they want this color carpet or this color wall. But for now, this should work. I'm going to add flat colors for all the characters. When you're just setting up the colors, you can just do it like this. It doesn't even need to be within the lines at first as you are deciding on your colors. Because right now, if this were my own original picture and I wasn't even sure what I was going with, this would be a good way to test. I can just literally go, okay, I'm gonna add some blue jeans. Yeah, I think this guy has blue jeans. That looks too bright. I don't want him to have those color. So then you can just quickly switch to a new color and test that one out and go, yeah, darker jeans. That's what he needs, I think. And you can keep changing it over and over, and later on you might go, no, it needs to be a faded blue. You can, at this point, you can just use the fill bucket tool and do that. I think I'll go with dark for now. Maybe I'll go in between and do a slightly faded but kind of dark color. Yeah, that works good for now. We'll see as I go. And he had a black shirt. When filling colors black, what I've noticed a lot is that if you just literally go to the darkest black for your character that is wearing a black shirt, or you're drawing a black cat or anything like that, if you literally go to the darkest color and go, oh, this is black, it's going to kind of frustrate the picture. You're going to have trouble seeing any lines you made. Yeah, it becomes a little difficult. So instead, try to drift in this area where it's still extremely dark, but there's a degree of, not a degree of light to it. You can actually still see objects next to it. So like now if I do a black shirt, it is black, basically, but I don't know if your screen will show it, if my camera is good enough to let you see, but basically it's dark, but you can actually still see my line art over here. You can still see some of those lines next to it. And that just helps later on. I can still darken it if it needs to really look like a, you know, a dark black, as opposed to a kind of gray. I can add shadows later and make it darker. But for now, that helps me, it helps me know it's black, but it's not too dark that I can't see my own line art. And I think this guy, yeah, looking at, I have another screen over here and I'm using that for my references. For a long time, I only used one screen when I did digital art, and you can do that, but it's so annoying to have to, like I could show here, it's annoying to have to like bring over another picture and go, okay, I can squeeze this on over here, there's the character, and I'll draw this, but then when you have to go over here, it's like, now that closed it. Well, then I guess I'll open it in Photoshop, which can slow it down. It's so much easier when you have a second computer monitor that works with your computer. And with me, I literally, this is an old monitor here. This screen is really old, but it's from one of our old computers, and I just connected it to my laptop, which I thought would be complicated, buying weird cords and all this stuff. No, it's so easy to just plug it into any laptop or computer and go to your control panel and just add another screen. And because of that, now I'm able to have my references on one screen and my actual picture on the other. I would definitely recommend doing that if you're working digital and you need to look at your references while drawing, because it makes everything way easier. Remember to leave questions if you have any about my process that I haven't talked about, because I'm not really planning what I do in terms of lessons. I'm just talking as I draw. So yeah, I lay out my blank colors, or not blank, but flat colors, and then I'm going to be I'm going to add some shading, but I'm also just going to be figuring out where the light source is. They said the TV should be the main light source for the room, but I'm going to double check and see if they also want like I think they said they wanted a lamp. I can add that in the background somewhere, or I can just have an overhead light like most, rooms, most bedrooms. So I'll find that out before I get to the light source. And yeah, I hope these are interesting enough and you can learn enough from these. I don't want to make them too long, and this is about 13 minutes, so now that you've seen me put down my flat colors, I think that will do for now. This will be a very long picture, but I want to, as you saw before, I will do some progress, and then I'm also going to clean this up off camera, and then you'll get to skip ahead and see, okay, he put down all the colors, now hurry up and do the next stage. I don't want to bore you guys. Alright, that is it for this episode. I added flat colors and showed you how to do layers and the perspective trick. If you have any other questions, let me know. I appreciate all the feedback, guys, and I'll see you next episode. This is PenMark. Thanks for watching.